So I'm so excited today because we get to welcome as our chapel speaker, Mr. Chesley Lundy. I had to kind of say that. It's not Chesty, it's Chesley Lundy. And Mr. Lundy is the co-founder of the Digital Church Network. That's a global community of digital church planners who use technology to reach people for Jesus. An expert in innovative church leadership and generational engagement, he has helped many churches and their leaders to adapt and grow in a disruptive time of generational and technological change. So would you join me just now in extending a very warm CHM welcome to Mr. Chesley Lundy.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'll be sure to pay you later because, yeah. I moved to Akron, Ohio from Phoenix, Arizona in August of last year. So welcome to winter, guys. I've got my coat on today. I'm feeling good. And all the smoke in the air, like I woke up and my throat's a little scratchy. So bear with me today. I don't know if you guys wanted to be a star when you were younger. I know I did. I wanted to be a basketball star. My favorite basketball player was Michael Jordan, right? Yeah. I know we're in LeBron land, but let's be honest. You've seen both of them play. If you have, you know. And so I thought, because I am white and 5'10", that I would be an NBA basketball star one day, and I would give Michael Jordan a run for his money. That was before I hit puberty. Yeah. The closest I got to the NBA was I was in high school in Pueblo, Colorado, and I had a friend who was 6'9" and had a college scholarship to a D1 NCAA school, and he stole the ball and went on a fast break, and I was a point guard because I didn't grow after 9th grade, which was a sad day for me. Listen, I had honor roll in my freshman year of high school. I'd skipped a grade. I'd skipped kindergarten, going into first grade, held myself back to do 9th grade again so that I would be ahead above everybody else so that I could go to the NBA, and look how that worked for me. I don't even look like an NBA player. The closest is Charles Barkley, the round mound of rebound, and so here I am. He's on a fast break. I decide to hightail it down there, and I'm going to take a charge. 6'9", 5'10". He lifts over me and does a tomahawk jam. No joke. When he comes down, his feet get caught on my shorts, and boom, right in front of everybody. Yeah. Have you ever wanted to be a star that bad that you just expose everything to everybody? I mean, that's one of the most embarrassing times of my life. And pretty quickly after that, I realized this dream is not going to work out. I got to retire. And so yeah, here I am, wanting to be a star, realizing pretty quickly that is not going to happen. But you guys have dreams too, right? I don't know. Maybe it's not basketball. Maybe it's I want to be a musician. Maybe it's I wanted to be the star biochemist, and now you're working at CHM. But you're really a rocket scientist at heart. We all want to be a star. We want to be great at something. I get that. In America, that's what we're told success is. And unfortunately, when we talk about leadership, we always talk about the stars. And I love basketball. But who was the leader on the Chicago Bulls? Was it Michael Jordan? No, it was Phil Jackson, who was a bench player when he played in the NBA. He wasn't the most talented. He wasn't the most skilled, but he knew how to get all of those large egos moving in the same direction and was unwilling to take all the accolades and accomplishments and all the limelight from them. Phil Jackson knew a secret. And I want to talk about that secret today. I am a digital church planter, pastor. I help coach and consult churches all over the nation. And we realized with COVID, like digital technology is a real deal, right? And so we get to do some of this stuff. I mean, you're doing it right now. Like you actually have people that are watching right now, engaging with us online. And churches had to hurry up and get online. But what we found is church leaders were very hesitant and still are hesitant to use digital technology to reach people. And so we felt like we needed to do research about the future of faith in America. And we had some pretty interesting results. One of them, we talked about leadership in the future of faith, and I want to share some of that with you. But if you want the full study, because we're not going to talk about the full study today, there's a QR code right here. I'll get out of the way so you can not, you know, take a picture of my head. But you can have that, and you'll get the full study for free on our website. So we talked about the future of leadership. Hold on, we'll get back to that in a second. There we go. When we talked to 13 to 55-year-olds, and we oversampled for Gen Z, we found out that being honest and candid is the leadership quality that Americans find most appealing today. And in the future of spirituality, they want more and more of that. Now, as somebody that has been a leader and understands being a star and wanting to be the best, I'm looking at that and go, oh, ability to find and communicate a clear vision, delegates and empowers to others, encourages recognition. They're on the bottom. In fact, when we shared this with a bunch of leaders, they actually got scared and went, do these young whippersnappers know what leadership actually is? You know, here's another one. Americans find inspirational and caring leadership styles to be the most appealing. You know what's on the bottom? Strategic, authoritative, and results-based. Now, you might be thinking the same thing. A lot of the leaders that I've talked to is like, oh no, it's cool. It's cool to be inspirational. It's cool to be caring. It's cool to listen, but don't you have to have all those other qualities too? And I want to take a pause here, because in our moment in this nation, it's not that these young people are saying we don't want strategic leadership. We don't want to be the best and be results oriented. They're not saying that. What they're saying is we want somebody that's not a narcissist and wants to be the star. That's a big deal. Yeah. And I believe it echoes something that Jesus was saying a long time ago. So if you have your Bibles, I want to open up. I want to talk about what Jesus sees as leadership. See, the concern is if we talk about being a star and not being a star, we get in this duality that says, well, obviously, we probably shouldn't have any ambition. We shouldn't do any of that. Jesus doesn't say that. It's pretty interesting what Jesus does say. So we're going to go back to the scripture here. And, here we go. Here we go, right here. We're going to find ourselves where Jesus is hanging out with his disciples, and James and John get their mom to do their bidding. And I'm pretty sure Mama was so proud of them, she wanted to do it. She was super happy that her boys were with the rabbi. And so she comes and she says, then the mother of the sons of Zebedee come up to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something, him being Jesus. And he said to her, what do you want? And she said, say that these two sons of mine are to sit one at your right hand and one at your left hand in your kingdom. So in the first century, that meant second in command and third in command. Obviously, Jesus, you're the greatest. But after you two, can you make sure that it's my sons? We laugh at that, but we feel that way. I want to be the best. God, put me at your right hand. And, you know, okay, I can't jump as high as Michael Jordan, so I'll take your left hand. We all feel that. We have a desire. Our ego says our worth is driven by our work. What we do is who we are. And when we get on that treadmill, success is the pathway, and that is not what Jesus says. But Jesus still is okay with greatness. Jesus actually doesn't have a problem with greatness. But in American society, and I believe in this day and age, in the first century, it was also true. Success was the path of ascent, but to Jesus, it was the path of descent. to be great in the kingdom of God, to be great, you had to make yourself go low. How low can you go? How low can you go? And so he says, Jesus answers, you don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am to drink? Are you willing to do the suffering? Are you willing to pay the price? I don't know if you know Nipsey Hussle. I've been grinding all my life. Hustling, paying the price, yeah. Do we feel like we've been paying the price? Are we willing to pay the price that Jesus was willing to pay? And he's like, you don't know what you're asking. And then they say, the idiots that they are, yeah, we can do that. They have no clue. They're unconsciously incompetent. And Jesus said, you will. You will drink my cup, but to sit at my right hand, not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father. And when the 10 heard about it, of course, the rest of them were ticked off. It says indignant. It's that P word we're not allowed to say in church. That's really what it was. And so they're sitting there, they're about to throw fisticuffs because they thought those two were arrogant. But reality is they actually wanted the same thing. That's why they were so mad. They wanted the same thing. So Jesus calls a huddle and he says, hey, come over here. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be the first among you must be your slave. Jesus is saying it's okay to be great. He doesn't get mad at them for wanting to be great. He says greatness in my line of work looks very different than greatness in the world's line of work. Leaders, this is so important. So important. Leaders don't look to be the star. They look to be the servant. Leaders don't look to be the star. They look to be the servant. And in America in 2023, that's unheard of. Because the stars get all the accolades, they get all the recognition, they get all the prizes, they get all the money. But servants don't. They get all the trash. They get all the dirt. They get all the grind. They get all the complaints. And Jesus says, if you're going to be great in my kingdom, you got to make yourself low. You got to go there. And so what does it mean to be a practical leader in today's day and age when we're, living in a white collar society for the most part, where we actually go to work and play on computers all day long and manage people, where it's not hard work all the time like it is when in Jesus' day? How do we become leaders in CHM that Jesus is saying? What does servant leadership look like? And I believe, here's the deal. If you take nothing away from me today, know that there's a phase one of leadership, and there's actually more than phase one, but most people don't make it past it because phase one is fun. Phase one is fun, and it's what we call the director. Our job as a leader, as one that's supposed to be a servant, in the first phase of leadership is to be the director. James and John were unconsciously incompetent. They had no clue what they were asking. They did not know where they were headed. And Jesus, being the leader that he said, yeah, you'll get that. And by the way, I can't give you the prize. It's not mine to give. But so many leaders stay here because it feels good to our ego. We like to tell you what to do. You don't know what to do. We want to tell you what to do. We love it. We're going to be the boss, and we're going to go, hey, I'm putting my foot down. This is the way you do things here. Mic drop. I'm done. The problem is that's not leadership. That's the first phase of servant leadership. And if you stay there, you're not a servant leader. You're only trying to be the star. And unfortunately, in our culture, that's where we want to head. All the time. We want to head to the director status where we get to tell people what to do. And God's not calling us to that. He's calling us to more sacrifice, more suffering for the good of others, because he knows the secret. People endear themselves to those who empower them. And so what's the next step? The second phase is when your people find out that they are consciously incompetent, they actually don't know what they're supposed to do, and they don't know how to do it, they get very uneasy. This is where we lose most of our followers. It doesn't matter what we're doing in business. It doesn't matter what we're doing in church. It doesn't matter what we're doing in life. When people realize that they don't have the answers, they get scared and they pull away. And it is important for a servant leader to get in the mud with them and go, no. We're doing this together. We have to move from director to coach. I coached 8 and 9-year-olds in basketball this season, and it was a great, awesome experience, and yet none of them knew how to play. You know, my son's on the basketball team, and I'm showing him videos of Dennis Rodman because the boy can't shoot. And I'm like, here, you can still be a star, but you got to hustle, and you got to make people mad on defense, you know, because you definitely ain't Michael Jordan. And I know, you're only going to be about 5'10", you know, and so, but I was with them every day shooting, they would get aggravated because I wouldn't let them shoot on the hoop. I would make them go on the wall, pick a point on the wall, and continue to build their form for shooting. If they could get that consistent and they could get their form consistent, then I knew that they would be able to shoot properly when it was time to hit game time. They didn't know that. It was like Mr. Miyagi and Daniel-san, wax on, wax off. He's like, I'm done with this. I know you're not teaching me karate. He's like, oh, show me wax on. Woo, woo. It's like kung fu fighting, right? So Daniel was consciously incompetent because he got his butt kicked. Mr. Miyagi knew what he needed to do, but Mr. Miyagi understood that the methods to get there without the ego looked very different than the rest of the world. Very different. If we're going to be a servant leader, we have to be a coach. And here's the problem with this, is most leaders don't make it to phase 2. They love telling people what to do. They don't like the fact that when you tell a 9-year-old how to shoot 50 million times, they don't know how to do it and they don't do it well. The results are incremental over time, and it's just really, really, really difficult. You guys have kids. You know how this is. You get 18 years with them. I'm at 8 and 9 right now, and it's like, dude, are they going to end up in prison? You know, I'm like, I don't know. We try every day. The main goal of being a parent is getting them out alive. If you can do that, you win. So much effort for so little reward. That's phase 2. And that's the reason why most leaders don't want to do it. It's fun to tell people what to do. It stinks showing them how to do it. But that's what our call is as servant leaders. Jesus got in the mud and muck. He didn't sit them in a classroom and said, this is what you do. He said, come with me, I'll show you how to do it. Phase 3, you move from coach to guide. And this, if you can get past phase 2, you very rarely get to phase 3 because you stop having all the wisdom. They start really getting good and they start putting their spin on things. And you are like, I would not have done it that way. And so often as a leader, we want them to do it the way we did it so that they can get the results that you really wanted to get, because you want to live vicariously through them, because at the end of the day, you still really have a big ego and you really still want to be the star. You don't want to be the servant. But God's called us to be the guide. What do you do when you're the guide? What do you do when you're the guide? You're like, hey, tell me why you decided that. Because here's the deal. You move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence and then unconscious competence. So your job in phase 3 of leadership is to make sure they know why they do what they do. And you've got to stop giving them the answers. You've got to stop showing them how to do things. You've got to start helping them think for themselves. Don't teach them what to think, teach them how to think. That's our job in phase 3. Phase 3 is so important. And this is where, honestly, most corporations mess up. Most businesses can get you to a point of like, let's teach you how to do it and let's train you. But when we don't sit there and allow them to think through their job and innovate, because they'll do it differently and they'll do it better. We don't give the space to guide them so that we can try new things and build new markets and experiment and show us, maybe, just maybe, they learn a trick that actually helps them do things better than we would have done that. Jesus didn't have a problem with that. Jesus said that we would do greater works than he did. The Son of God, Messiah, said we would do greater works than he did. See, Jesus isn't just the Messiah. He's not just our master. He's also our model for leadership, our model for spiritual maturity. And Jesus shows us that. And he's telling the guys, I don't want you to be like the rest of the world. I want you to go low. I want you to empower people. But you have to know how to do that well. You have to guide people when they are good at something, but they don't know why they're good at it. They're in phase 3. It's your job as the servant leader to recognize it, because they won't. But if you're so busy trying to get the accolades and get the accomplishments and get the awards, you're not going to have your mind on the ball and in the game so that you can do what God's called you to do as a leader, which is to empower people, not to be the star. Be the servant, not the star. And so phase 4, and this is honestly, if you could get to phase 4, this is the spot where I believe most leaders actually, you can get through phase 3, but phase 4 is almost unheard of. And it's because it's the hardest thing to do as a leader. It's to launch. We move from being the director to being the coach to being the guide to being a catalyst. There comes a time when they don't need you anymore. And it's your job to kick them out of the nest. As a leader, it's your job to walk away. It's your job to replace yourself. That, my friends, as a servant and as a leader, is the hardest thing to do. Because the fear that our egos exude is, well, what am I going to do now? What's my worth? How am I going to make a contribution? Well, I lose my job if I build a leader that can replace myself and actually do better than I can. I believe Jesus is saying that answer is not his to give. But you should still do it anyways. You should still suffer. You should still lay your life down. You should still serve. And to be honest with you, you will suffer. You will sacrifice. And it's God's role as you humble yourself and you catalyze. And it's not just walk away. Here's what I want you to see. As you launch somebody into the calling that they have on their life, maybe it's a managerial position where you know, I'm on the rung of the ladder that they need to be on. And I need to have a conversation with my upline because we need to get them in leadership. And I don't know what that means for me. That's so hard. That ego fights at us so much. And yet that's what God is calling us to do. That's what God is calling us to do. Is to be real servant leaders. And so what does that mean? If I'm going to launch somebody, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give somebody that I've trained up access to my credibility as a leader, to my relationships as a leader, to my financial resources as a leader, to my network of relationships as a leader. I give them my authority. They didn't earn it. I give it. That's so hard to do because you give it and then you walk away. I love this. Jesus, at the end of his earthly ministry in Acts, all authority has been given in heaven to me. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations. Jesus is saying, I've got authority, now I'm giving it back to you. And if you look at the graciousness and amazing love of God throughout Genesis, and you have the covenants throughout Scripture, Jesus and the Father always did that. I've got the power. I've got the power. Yeah. And then I'm going to give it back to you. You messed up. Here's the funny thing about this whole thing. This is 40 days after Peter made the biggest mistake of his life. This is 40 days after all of the disciples, except for one, deserted him. On the tail of their biggest failure. Jesus goes, and now you're ready. We're so afraid of our leaders failing because at the end of the day, it's about our ego and about whether it looks good on us. So we hold back and withhold our resources that God has given us to steward to empower others. But just think about it. Think about it for a second. What if? What if we stopped thinking about ourselves? What if we stopped trying to be the star? What if we went into our meetings right after this chapel and started asking God, who do you want me to empower? Who do you want me to lift up? Who do you want me to get low for and wash their feet? Who do you want me to get? You see, leaders don't look back and pull up. Leaders get underneath and push up. What if we all did that? What if every single one of us, and here's the deal, I've got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to talk to some of you that I could hear it, but I'm not a leader. Yeah, you are. You have spaces in your life where you have more relational authority, which is all that leadership is, than people around you. If you got hired yesterday, you probably don't have much today, but tomorrow they're going to hire another person. Now you have more relational authority than that person. So there you go. You, my friend, are a leader. You may not like it. You may be reluctant about it. It's like Gideon, where he says, hey, mighty man of valor. Who, me? Who are you talking? Is there another person in this cave? Yes, I'm talking to you. You are a leader. What if CHM, everybody in CHM, stopped asking, what will do best for me? How can I be a star? And started asking, how can I be a servant? Let's pray. Father, we love you. We praise you. Lord, I know what it's like to be a leader and want the accolades. I know what the fight of the ego feels like, and it's not easy. I know what my pride and arrogance in my soul does every time I get somebody that does something a little better than I do. Lord, so I ask for peace and grace for all of these people here. We know at the end of the day, our ego dissipates when we know we're loved and we're cared for and we're supported and we're secure, and we are in you. Father, I ask that you shower these people with your manifest presence, because it's pure love and it drives out fear, and that's all the ego is fear that you aren't going to come through. And Father, as we get more secure and supported in your love, give us the wisdom to take a step further in going lower and finding somebody to push up, to empower them, so that as we humble ourselves, Lord, we know you. You're a good God. You're a good daddy. You'll lift us up. We don't have to worry about that. I am a star. I'm a star in your eye. Now how do I make other stars? Give us the grace and the ability and the security to get out of our own way and to become a servant leader. In Jesus' name, amen.